Hello, this is Jijo. I thought I'll do a video on XAT. So I'll go through XAT as an exam, what is expected, and how to prepare for the XAT in the coming days. And now CAT is over. It might have been painful for some. But it was, but what is God is gone. I did a rant yesterday. I think that is done and dusted. It was in my mind, and I ranted that out, and it's over. Okay, so I'm feeling better now. Okay, so let's first share the screen. That's what I'm going to do, and we're going to do something. Okay, so let's go to the website. So there is 11 hours more to do the registration. Even not registered for the test, please go ahead and register. I think that the thought about whether one should register, whether it's a good college, should I do it, the active stuff, and so on and so forth. Those are random things. It doesn't matter. First, you register for the exam, take the exam, and figure out what happens later. Right? That's a good way. So registration ends today, 12 midnight. So do that. And you can download that card on the 20th of December, and the exam is going to happen on the 3rd of January. That's New Year. Hopefully 2021 will bring some good news. 2020 was one of those crazy years, ladies and gentlemen. Still, it's been bad news after bad news after bad news this year. I hope that 2021, probably January 3rd, is the year that is going to bring us some awesome news. What do you think? That's our hope. Exam is 3 hours, and you can actually see some GMAT and GRE, and you might be wondering what that is about. So essentially, you have to see that GMAT is for NRI students and PGDM General Management Program, which is the 1 year program. And if you are an NRI, then you can take the GMAT, which I think also the case for IIM as well. But okay, so that's about it. So actually here you actually don't see uh too many information about the test pattern. They have not revealed that. At least I couldn't find. I went everywhere through the website. It's not there. So there is some FAQs that is being mentioned. That FAQ has got test related inquiry. When shall I receive what is the duration of the test? That is given as 3 hours. It's going to be 3 hours. That is something that is mentioned. XAT result out. Will there be any sectional time limits or overall time limit? There will be only overall time limits. Obviously there must be. You can't give a test and say that take the test for 2 years. Obviously there'll be overall time. Who asked such a question? Will there be overall time limit? Of course there'll be overall time limit. But the good news is that there are no sectional time limit, which is very good, which means you can jump between sections. And if you believe that that would have happened in the CAT, maybe your life will be slightly different. But no more crib, no more CAT, no more cribs, Jijo. We are moving forward. Will candidates have an access to an on-screen calculator? No, actually good news. And most of you would have experienced on-screen calculator with the kind of computer that you got and the mouse that you got. It's very painful to actually do online calculator in the CAT as well. So at home the story is different, but in the actual CAT it all depends upon the computer that we get. I'm sure that some of you would have some bad stories. So I have had every year some bad story with the online calculator. When I press 4 once, the screen it picks 4 times. 4 4 4 4. It's like okay. Anyways, will the candidate be able to choose the order of the section according to the choice? What this question is answered. Of course you can. Yes. Can the candidate switch between sections and have access to the entire question paper like a written test? Yes. This seems to be all same questions. With sectional partitions, will the candidate be allowed to decide the order of the sections, or will all three sections be made open to the candidate the moment the exam starts? All three sections will be open to the candidate once the exam starts. These are all same question in different fashion, much like that as an exam. What happens in case of technical glitch? Oh, cry. What else? What should you do? In the unlikely case, okay, thank you at least. Yeah, the candidate will be shifted to another terminal without any loss of time. That's a good news. Okay, so I think that you should actually take a snap of this, probably print it in on your t-shirt and go there if somebody has any problems. So look, this is what the site said. Nothing else is actually mentioned anywhere about this one. So we have to now do some predictions, and like all we know that prediction is sometimes has gone bonkers. I'm sure that by now you have lost trust in people like me after what happened in the CAT. I don't blame you. We are all sometimes our predictions can go wrong. So I've gone to the career launch website. You can also go. There are a lot of information that is given in terms of XAT 2021 and things like that. Uh, okay, so you have overview of that, and let's look at notification. And this is let's get this down. Exam pattern. Okay, let's start from there. The CAT 2020 exam pattern likely. So obviously they're saying likely and expected because I think they have not explicitly mentioned. What is given in this paper is likely to have these four sections: verbal and logical ability, decision making, quantitative ability, and data interpretation, and general knowledge. This has been the case last year. I think that this is this. So there are two parts. This first three is a part one, which is the test based on which the scores based on which you are getting a call. There is also a general knowledge, which is part two. But that I think the ZAT looks at that particular score, or XLR looks at score for the second round. So for the first round doesn't matter. And there is a section of verbal and logical ability. When you look at this logical ability, don't confuse this with logical reasoning as we understand in terms of analytical reasoning or the logical reasoning of the CAT. This logical reasoning and logical ability has to do with critical reasoning. These are those. I'm hope that some of you will be familiar with those kind of questions. Short passages given ask you to identify the assumptions or strengthening, weakening arguments, such kind of question. That's why this verbal ability and logical ability. This is not the logical reasoning that you think it is. So it is the critical reasoning one. Okay, and then there is decision making. This is something that is very unique to ZAT. This is a section which has got nice story or a case study is given, and the question is asked. A lot of people say that it's very subjective. Yes, there's an element of subjectivity to it, but still one can go through certain rules to make the decision in terms of identify the important criteria to make the decision. That's so you can still answer the decision making questions from a logical point of view as well. And there is quantitative ability and data interpretation. So the q and DI is there. DI is a part of QA as a section. The analytical reasoning, sometimes you can see in decision making section, but I think they started decision making in the year 2008. So there were a bunch of about 50% were decision making question, 50% the analytical reasoning question, and that kind of changed over the year. The analytical reasoning kind of morphed into decision making itself. So you may not actually find uh, quite a few analytical reasoning sets in the SATs, and you can actually clear the cutoff without the analytical reasoning as well. So that's the whole thing. And the ZAT 2020 exam was conducted in the form of two papers. The first paper consisted of first three sections, has 75 questions. That was last year, which happened, and which are a time limit of 165 minutes. So 75 questions, 165 minutes. The other paper consists of general knowledge 25 for a period of 15 minutes. I don't know why you have to be given 15 minutes for 25 general reasoning questions. Knowing you, I think that we will knock it off in about 1 minute, because you know a lot of things. Either decision making questions are no, sorry, general knowledge questions are questions that either you know or you don't know. Why you need 15 minutes? Who is the president of Uganda? Well, there you go. All right. So for the marking scheme was last year was for MCQ, each correct response carried 1 mark, and incorrect response had a penalty of 0.25 marks. It is 0.25 because there were 5 options. If there are 4 options, then it will be 1/3, because uh, net score should be 0 if you randomly chose, right? So that's a simple math logic anyways. And also, incidentally, this paper has last for few years, I think they started, I don't know which year they started this, maybe in ZAT 2017 or 16, I don't remember when. They started penalizing for even those questions that you did not answer. But you have to understand that. So this is like for over 8 questions on the ZAT 2020. Overall, if you have 8 questions, and this negative marking is not there for general knowledge, it is only for the first 3 parts. So if there are you leave over 8 questions, then there is a penalty of 0.1 marks for every question after the 8 question marks. That means, let's say you leave, let's say 18 questions out. Okay, you did not choose 18 out of the 75 questions. Therefore, remove the 8 questions out. 18 minus 8 is 10. For the 10, each of them will have 0.1 negative mark, which means you lose 1 mark for those 10 questions together. So you really should not be worried about this particular part. Don't unnecessarily take a risk and mark something and get a minus 0.25. Minus 0.1 is very less. It's the impact of 1 mark is going to happen with 10 questions, right? So if you're not going to solve 20 questions or 30 questions, that's okay. I think you should not worry about this. Uh, so this is the rule of the number of questions which can be left is modified quite frequently. So that's the basic. So this is the expected exam pattern. This is based on the patterns that we had seen last year. This could change. So verbal ability, 26 question, 21 question, and 28. I think this was last year. Total is 75, and this total is 100. I think that this is because they've also added the 25 questions of general knowledge. This should be 75. So overall is one, and the exam paper two has got this 25 questions, and the total is therefore 100 and 100. That's what it is. So this is based on the last year the paper. So there are some important highlights. Let's read that. XAT will be held as an online computer based mode. XAT is a single slot, which is very good. There'll be no there'll be no such pressure that we had in the CAT. I'm sure that I took the test in morning slot. It was, and I'm sure that the slot 3 had a rough day. I'm telling you, they were having all these mixed reviews, and it was a one slot. That's good news. Okay, total number of questions expected to be 100. That's at 75 there, and uh, that's okay. So the general knowledge is not to be included in this one. So I don't know from where this is picked up about this marking scheme. I couldn't find here. I went everywhere trying to look for the section ZAT 2021 pattern somewhere. I actually could not find. Maybe in the bulletin. Let's give it a shot. ZAT bulletin. Is it there? Pattern. Let's actually check, ladies and gentlemen. Can we have a look and see if there is anything about the instructions? Welcome to ZAT 2021. Thank you so much. That's a good thing for you to say. Important point. Tell me what is the structure, man? You've got how many pages is this? It's got a lot of pages. These are all the colleges that accept the ZAT score, ZAT associate members, and a lot of colleges are there. And you can then look at yourself. Where is information about the ZAT? You spent so many spaces about address of the college, which is interesting. Candidates through GMAT. Obviously, this is. So there is this, the previous year's ZAT paper that is available. So that's something they have given. So we probably can have a look at it. So that's it. I could not find it. I could not find the pattern or the structure mentioned anywhere else. So we'll probably will have to wait and see what they're going to say, or we'll probably figure out on that day. Now we are used to that. We can figure things out on the day. There is nothing much actually mentioned here in the bulletin as well. So yeah, so that's what it is. So coming to look at the next important question is about ZAT. So I picked up the ZAT 2020 analysis. That's a good place to be in terms of what the paper is. So the section of verbal and logical ability in the ZAT, this was the kind of section for I think the last 3 years. You had a very similar kind of a paper. So you had this reading comprehension, which is 12 questions. So out of the 26 question, I believe, yes, this was 26 question like last year. Yeah, I think it was 26. Yeah. So out of the 26, you had 12. So you have significant number of questions, which is reading comprehension, something that you used to for CAT. There is 6 questions on critical reasoning, and that is good. These are very crackable questions. So if you're preparing for the CAT, so for the ZAT, why am I saying CAT? For the ZAT, critical reasoning is one area that you should look and prepare. There is a poem comprehension. So for short poem is given, and then you're asked questions. Slightly crazy. Easy to moderate is what is being mentioned here. So there are 2 questions. Then you have paragraph jumbles with options, which is good. And so basically, if you look at it, so the fill in the blank questions or the grammar questions, it's about 4 out of the 26 questions, right? So I understand most of you would not have looked at grammar for the CAT. So here again, so that will not have a huge impact in terms of your score. But if you're good in grammar, obviously there is 2 marks for the taking. So if you kind of look at the verbal ability section, though it is considered slightly more difficult than the CAT, so you will see that this the verbal ability section of the ZAT is similar in the sense that this particular section is comprehension based. So whatever you learned for the CAT is something that you can apply. I have this ZAT 2020 paper. This is not my paper. I took it from Career 360. I think we should give due credit to that site for they have uploaded this. So yeah, this grammatically correct sentence, which is you had a better teller everything, comma, or else you will lose a friend. So It's okay. And then you have this fill in the blanks, which has got these numbers like that. Then you have second fill in the blanks questions. And then you had which of the sentences are grammatically incorrect. That is mentioned there. And then you have this PQRST. And then the good news is that you have got options. So here at least it is probably easy to kind of crack this, because there are options that the option itself gives you a lot of hints in terms of, for example, for sure the T is not going to be the start. You will still look at the same linkages and try and eliminate option. That's something that you will probably will have to do in this particular case. And this is a passage. The passage is not very big, though the passage the options are quite deceiving. That's something that you always see in the ZAT. And the passage tend to be a little more dense. So let me actually increase probably the size of this. And once during a concert on cathedral organ music, as I sat getting goose flesh amid that tsunami of sound, I was struck with a thought: for a medieval peasant, this must have been the loudest human-made sound they ever have experienced, awe-inspiring in now unimaginable ways. Ah, that's one sentence. So you had that particular passage, and the second question. Then there is a third question on the cathedral music, and then you had, what is this, which of the following can be best inferred based on this? So you had a short paragraph, that is a critical reasoning type of question. And then you have this paragraph jumble question again: which of the following can be best inferred? So again, a short passage. And then you have another paragraph. I think the read passages, look at this, the passages, so which means you will have enough time to kind of solve this. It's not going to be that much of a pressure. It of course you will struggle a lot with respect to trying to figure out what the right answer choice is. It's not going to be that easy. But then you don't have you will not have too much of stuff to read it, in the sense. Plus you have obviously the option of jumping between section to section. So that's something that you essentially will have to figure out in terms of what your strategy would be. So the rest of the stuff is fine. So that's the poem, ladies and gentlemen. Some say the world will end in fire, some say in ice. From what I've tasted of desire, I hold with those who favor fire. But if it had to perish twice, I think I know enough to hate, to know that for destruction ice is also great and would suffice. And then you have a question: which of the following statement will the poet agree the most? A desire overpays hatred to control humans. Greed can destroy one's world. Where do you get this? That is right. That's a choice. You might be wondering, where did that come from? Where did that come from? Okay, so that is, ladies and gentlemen. So again, which of the following can be best inferred? So based on the paragraph, which of the following option would you agree with? I think this was 22 questions, 23. Again, intent of the passage. So a lot of these short paragraph 24, 25, and 26. So you kind of get a sense that this is very much a paper on what do you say, on comprehension based paper. So whatever you've learned, so kind of in the oops, let me actually push this down a bit. Okay, yeah. See this, there is also cutoff, expected cutoff, that was mentioned here. So this is 20. So look at the cutoff. This was probably the actual ones. This is obviously expected one. I don't know, the site does not see. So it's about what, for human resource management it's about 8.25, for BMS 7.58, 7 questions net correct. So that's a story. So while the paper is obviously, you obviously need to score higher. This is just clearing that basic cutoff, and the basic cutoff for these colleges are not very high. It's about what, 75 percentile, 80 percentile, all that is the basic cutoff. So you really obviously need to score higher. So from a preparation point of view, if I have to look at what you have to do with COVID, ladies and gentlemen, that's a siren. It's 2020, man. It's been a tough journey for all of us. It's been a tough journey. I sincerely hope that you guys are doing well, and you are safe, your people in your family are safe. It's a terrible situation. If someone had a tough time, lost someone in your family or a friends, if you know someone who have done that, I'm truly sorry, really sorry for you, and my thoughts and prayers are with you and your family. That's something that I thought I should share. Okay, so let's so that is so from a prep point, shall we write something down? Let's do in this case with respect to verbal ability, verbal, what you should do. So what you have to do in verbal, ladies and gentlemen, is that you have to get used to the ZAT. So you have access to ZAT papers. right? So in the aspiration zone, you get ZAT papers from 2008 onwards. You'll see the earlier papers were slightly more difficult there. So I think that what you can do is that ensure that you kind of solve all the ZAT papers. That's the best source. That will kind of get you in a good preparation mode. So that's something that I think that you should do, and focus and do a bit of critical reasoning as an area. I hope you've already done it as a part of lesson. That's something that you can do. So that also really helps you, because most of the reading comprehension questions are also pretty much critical reasoning based. So that's something that you can do, ladies and gentlemen. Next comes your decision making and analytical reasoning. Though last year there were no decision making analytical reasoning questions, there are 21 decision making questions. This decision making, if you actually look at decision making as a section, so you have this a story like this, like Rakesh, who hailed from Dhanbad, worked in Jamshedpur with SPCIL, a government construction company. Although HR policies concerning job security and work-life balance attracted Rakesh to SPCIL, over time he found his work monotonous with no growth opportunity. However, the proximity to Dhanbad enabled him to visit his parents at his convenience. Recently, Rakesh applied to Grow and Prosper, a multinational company engaged in construction-related operations, making inroad in many Indian states. GNP interviewed Rakesh and offered him 3 times his salary at SPCIL. Okay, then you have this question. While considering GP's offer, Rakesh pondered over the following fact. 5 fact based of which of the following combination above fact will help Rakesh decide on joining GNP. So this is you have to think about this from a logical standpoint. I'm not going to solve these questions for you, but you have to kind of look at it from a logical standpoint. The answer given is 5, 4, and 2. 5 says based on the annual performance review at GNP, Rakesh will either earn double the salary or get fired. That's good. Though an exemplary performer, Rakesh is hardly been recognized in SPCIL. The first assignment in GNP is a bridge project in a village near Dhanbad. So I think that is good. So village near Dhanbad is something that he wants. Proximate Dhanbad is what he wanted, which is mentioned. He wants job security. That is one thing that he wanted. This is going to help him decide that it's not job security. It's hardly been recognized in SPCL, so he wants that. That makes sense. So anyways. Uh, yeah, so that, ladies and gentlemen, is the kind of question. You see these questions here. It can be. You can also see various length. This the last year, this paper. These are all short passages. I've also seen pretty long ones. So you have to. So here obviously you're making some bet. There are no, so to speak. It's not like the verbal reasoning, or is not like mathematics, or not like logical reasoning where there can be set of rules. But you can still look at for decision making, the best source again. I'm going to go back to your ZAT papers, and you kind of will have to figure out some sort of a way in which you can make the decisions. Okay, so most of the time when you see that the question will have a prompt. So for example, which of the following is the best option if the shop wants to increase the variety of a product itself? So there's a question will have a prompt. Question will have a sort of a criteria. You're still using your logical ability, logical reasoning. A lot of people say it's about common sense. I don't think it's about common sense. Common sense is sense that is common, develop. Intuition is not intuition. This has to be based on logic. So you will probably need some help here. You can figure out, I'm sure, that some sort of a courses or a class somewhere that you can pick up for the decision making here, or you can manage on your own, whichever is comfortable to you. But the past that paper is something that you can do. Start from 2008 onwards. You have got quite a few, from each one you can learn, and from each learning you have to kind of figure out some sort of a logic that you can apply to the next question. There'll be quite a few questions that you don't agree with in this case as well, especially here. So you might be wondering, for example, ZAT 2020, I think there'll be a lot of questions that people would have not agreed. It was slightly crazy. I remember this. I remember having a lot of debate and discussion on every single question. And when people came out with the answer key for uh, this paper, and everybody's answer key went for a toss. I don't think anyone came out with the absolutely accurate answer key. Hey, got this question correct. Whoever got this, that person got this question correct, which is good. Okay, so there you go. So again, so what is the kind of cutoff we are looking at? The kind of cutoff that we are looking at here for decision making, ladies and gentlemen, would be also pretty neat and solves about 8 and 9. So there are 21 questions, right? You want to get about 10 of them right. Here, this is where something you have to bet on almost all the questions. That's probably what you should do. I think that unless of course the question is absolutely crazy and just cannot make it. So this is probably one of those sections which you kind of bet and then solve the questions. You have quite a few time in this. So about 8 to 9 is the kind of cutoff that we want to look at. So that's there. And you have got, let's say, math. Okay, so math, over the years, when you look at the quant papers of XAT over the years, quant papers, it has been very difficult in the early XAT. XAT used to be pretty difficult. I remember during my times. That's what, 1996. Uh, the XAT, the quant was crazy. Okay, so I remember this paper having some 5 questions. That's it, 5 broad questions. Okay, so each has got 1 question, and there is some 10 sub questions, and the cutoff was something like 1 mark or something, some crazy number like that. So there were some 5 basic questions, and there's just 10 sub questions. The booklet of that, I remember, was comes in different color, multicolor, pink, yellow, red. So a short, cute little booklet they used to give. The QA, but over the years, I think that it has been much more better as an exam. So we probably can have a look at the questions here as well. So you'll probably see that it's something that you will be probably comfortable with your preparation that you did for the CAT. So look at this. This is fine, right? This means this. What is the value of this? This is okay, right? This is something that you can do, right? Nalini received a total of 600 WhatsApp messages. Bina 30. So this is also percentages. Some big question. So these are what is the remainder? These are stuff that you know, right? So I'm sure that these days there'll be a lot of questions that is that you can actually solve here. Is probably very similar. It's not going to be that easy. It's probably similar to the CAT or the concept that you study. There is nothing extra that you need to study for the XAT per se. It's I think that's all the more about making the right kind of selection. And you have this data interpretation, which is the hardcore data interpretation question, which works around with calculation. So you eventually will have to figure out what your strategy here is, where you want to bet on these data interpretation questions or the math. So if I just look at the math, well, I think arithmetic were 8 of questions, and then who's the next best? 5 is geometry, 3 is algebra, coordinate geometry, all over the place. And you have this 6, 7, 8 questions of DI, which also easy to moderate and moderate kind of thing. That's about what 6, 7, 8 questions of data interpretation itself. And if you kind of look at the cutoff of this one quant, it's about what? Oh, that was 11. Oh, so we need some math as well. So we need probably math, and there is 7 also, somewhere 7, 8.5. It all depends. So 5.5, ladies and gentlemen, for HRM in their 2015. Though it was used to be tough. I think that this became slightly more easier comparatively. Obviously, you'll still find it more difficult than the CAT. So it's a question of selecting the easy questions here. So your concepts that you studied so far is still going to help. So if there are still questions, you can still do some of the level 2 kind of questions there to the practice. You have difficult, moderate, difficult, easy to moderate, easy, moderate, moderate, eventually easy to moderate. That is strange. How many easy I can count? 1, 2, 3 easy. How many difficult? 1, 2 difficult. How many moderate? 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, easy to moderate. Fair. All right, so that is so. How do you kind of prepare for this quantitative session? I think that coming back to XAT paper, it might be a little misleading because the earlier XAT paper had some difficult question, but you'll always find in the XAT there are going to be sitters, right? It's a question of your ability to pick the question and solve. So if so that's going to be absolutely crucial when it comes to the QA section of the CAT. From a preparation point of view, you suddenly see that there is not so you just have to be systematic. You are largely relying on the XAT paper, of course, then XAT mocks which I'm sure that you've got access to. XAT mocks plus the XAT paper. Don't take the XAT paper as a test or a mock test. Use the XAT paper or the questions in the XAT paper as question that you're going to use to help develop the skill set that is needed for these 3 areas. That's something that I would kind of recommend for you guys to do. So we are looking at what, 2000, we are looking at 2020 minus we are looking at close to about paper available for 12 years, and each of the year probably will have close to, let's say, about 80 questions. Let's say we are looking at something close to 900 questions that is available to you. Each question, let's say you take about 4 minutes, 5 minutes to 4 minutes. Let's look at 4 minutes. We're looking at divided by 60. That is about 64 hours. So that's about, I think that this will be about 60 hours of work, 60 hours worth of work. to do with this. That 60 hours is a kind of effort that you can put in for the ZAT. And given the fact that we have got about what, 30 days, I believe. So that's about what, 2 hours per day, right? So I also understand that you've got to prepare for other exams. Some of you are taking NMAT, some of you are taking SNAP, maybe MyCat, maybe there'll be other exams there. So you just have to plan it really well and focus largely on the ZAT papers that and learn from every kind of thing. So if there are, for example, there are going to be a lot of cases where you might not be absolutely convinced with some of the answers. You'll be very confused. Just leave those. You'll find a lot of these in decision making. Earlier cases fine, only decision making a few times is an issue. But uh, the idea here is that don't fight too much with some of these questions. That's the point that I'm saying from a prep point of view. And of course you'll take that mock test, and that can be really kind of helpful. So, and current affairs is 3, history 4, economics 4, geography 5, personality and awards 2, science and tech 5, politics, they're all over the place, ladies and gentlemen. So I don't know whether you should actually prepare for these things. I'm sure that if someone who's been reading newspapers, I think these days, I think the only news that we hear is COVID. So it's really can't prepare. But I'm sure there are going to be certain sites that is available. So anyway, most of the people just hope that they know stuff. So that's what fetching a score of 7 to 8 can be considered good. How can you attempt 12 to 14 and get 7 to 8? Well, obviously you can attempt everything. There's no negative marking, I think. Maybe that is okay. So getting about 7 to 8, ladies and gentlemen. So that's what it says. Even if you go back and look at other years analysis, you'll probably be very similar in terms of what this paper was. 26, there were 74 questions back then. So the suggestion is that obviously you can solve a couple of sections in less time, and devote extra bit of time for one other session, whichever. That's something that you can figure out yourself. That's something you must figure out. And once you figure out that, use probably one or two mocks to kind of figure that out, and stick to that for every single time. Or maybe you start with an assumption in terms of what that time limit, and stick to it. So don't experiment too much, right? So just stick to one kind of strategy, and you can look at that. So you'll still see those things, same thing: poem, analogy, antonym, para jumble 5 questions, critical reasoning 5 questions, decision making situational of 21 questions. And again, it's the same. The arithmetic, algebra was 7 here. There arithmetic was 8. So that is, generally cannot figure out this paper that much. They have that bit of this the whole stuff here. So yeah, there you go. So the cutoff, like I said, was what? Overall cutoff. While the overall cutoff XLR is 94 percentile, and I think that you must score pretty high percentile, because eventually for the GDPR process, the ZAT plays a very crucial role. So even if you get a call at 94%, obviously you can convert it, but the chances are high when you're high up. So just don't go by these figures. These are bare minimum cutoff. You basically make your preparation in such a manner that you can maximize your scores. So the point, ladies and gentlemen, that I wanted to make with your preparation is to understand, as a paper, these are 2 sections are something which is purely comprehension based, largely comprehension based. Decision making is completely comprehension, logic based paper. It's a very logical paper. Obviously it's going to challenge you a bit, but it's still a paper which is very logical and something that you can nail. Make this a systematic plan. Simple plan is to learn from each of the ZAT papers, ZAT questions, do the ZAT mock, spend about 60 hours for the preparation, and I sincerely hope that you will do well. Thank you, and bye bye.